Okay, yes, it is recording. Sweetest
I
deals.
also hit recording. Whoa.
Whoa!
Whoa. Oh, God, I accidentally hit the stop recording button. Oh,
Well, guys, my Audacity stopped recording 20 minutes ago.
You sly son of
All
a
right.
bitch. I remember that.
All right, let's get started. Welcome back, everybody, to a typically belated installment of the Unversed cast
Let's
here
get
on the
it
Unversed cast
started.
YouTube.
We just
Let's
figured
get
this
it
year's so horrible. We'll just go back.
This year really does suck. Okay, so I saw this thing the other day where it's just like, oh, this is the year of the horse. And then it said the horse in question, and it was the horse from the Neverending Story who fucking dies.
He like drowns in the quicksand, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then the horse actually fucking died.
Oh, the actual real life horse that was in the film
Died on set, yeah. The actual horse fucking died.
I didn't know about that. I thought it was just a special effect.
Not.
So it's he got Bruce Lead.
Oh, I suppose.
Yeah, so we're back here because I did want to talk about what we all thought of this year in gaming, but before we do,
we need to have a little
this is not a fan. Well, yeah, this isn't a fan fiction thing. So first off, we've made the decision to axe the audio only version of the podcast. Well, unless if I hear a bunch of people on this YouTube video commenting and saying, "Oh, please don't cancel that. The audio only version changed my life. I named my kids after it." Unless if I hear that, we're cutting it. And
the reason iTunes podcast saved my marriage.
Because back when we started this thing, when there were 4 of us, and obviously that's a whole transition we've been through as well, I got a lot of correspondence from people on Twitter saying like, "Hey, can you put this on iTunes or whatever?" And I'm like, okay, I'll look into that. And I looked into it, and how it works is you need to find someone to host your stuff so that you could get an RSS feed, and that allows you to basically repost your stuff to various podcast platforms like iTunes or Apple Music or whatever the hell it's called now. And when I started doing that, it was like $60 for this yearly subscription, and I did it on SoundCloud. So that's why everything was hosted on SoundCloud. Like, if you're just uploading mixtapes or songs and they're only like 3 minutes long, the audio limit isn't a problem. But when you're uploading like hour-long episodes at a time like we are, we run out of space in like 2 uploads. So I had to get the premium, but the premium at some point increased in price to $150 a year. And it's a lot of money to pay when seemingly nobody is watching or listening to the audio version that I know of. And it's not much extra work, but it is extra work. So I've backed everything up to the Unversed Cast Google Drive. And I don't know, like, make your thoughts heard on what you, the viewer, think of this whole audio-only version thing. If I get a bunch of people saying they really want it to continue, we'll see what happens. But, it's on the chopping block. Thing number 2 is I'm going to be trying to sort of scale down the editing for these things just to make it a little easier. Because I think at this point, this is a labor of love sort of situation. We do this because we like talking to each other and we like talking about video games. So,
you know what I kind of just realized too, is that this year actually marks the 10-year anniversary. But we've been doing Unversed Cast for 10 years.
Oh boy, does that make me feel old?
I choose to take it merrily.
Yeah.
I won't think about the number. I'll think about the joy.
Think about all the memories that we've had on this podcast, reminiscing about Vector the Crocodile smacking Sonic the Hedgehog with his cock and balls.
There's that one Lizzie Ellis video where she's talking about like, oh yeah, there's totally a part where Bumblebee pees on John Turturro, and she's reciting this anecdote where her friend's like, that didn't happen, and they had just watched the movie. And
it's funny because you said that, and the scene just instantly played in my head. I knew exactly what she was talking about.
And it's like, when you brought up the Vector the Crocodile penis scene on the Sonic Adventure playthrough, I was convinced you were making it up.
No.
Because I did not remember it. But then, like, I looked back at that was like a wrong moment for me, because I looked back at our reading of it, and sure fucking enough, like, he hit Vector the Crocodile in the ball 6 times, and he came all over the place. And then Baby Knuckles, or Baby Espio, I can't remember, slid on the cum and punched him in the dick. Like, that
this was
fan
your
fiction.
fault. That was your fault. That was you.
My fault?
Not me. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure King was the one who brought Sonic
It
High
is
School
my
to the
fault.
table.
No. Okay, listen. You brought it to the table. Uncle Mike made me finish the fucking thing.
I tried
pushing it. I tried pushing that plate. Be like, I don't want any more of this. And then fucking Mike was just like, no. You got to eat this before you get to your dessert.
Oh, look, you didn't exactly go on a hunger strike or anything.
I was hungry for something good.
I'm just saying, if you really didn't want to do it, you could have stopped us. Because you've stopped me before. Remember when we tried to read that Sonic High School sequel? We tried to read like chapter 2 of it. You were just like not having it, and then we just ended up skipping it.
I don't think anybody was having it, to be fair.
No, I was having it.
Well, yeah, of course you were having it.
I wanted to see what happened on the Sonic the Movie set. All right, we're getting off topic. We're here to talk about GOTY 2025, and I think I'm just going to describe my experience with this year and see if you guys agree or what you have to amend.
Sure.
Because like 2023 was pretty great. Mm-hmm. 2024, I don't really remember at this point.
Same.
I don't even remember what came out. And then 2025, it was like, because I always try to keep up with new releases so we can do these podcasts, and like it encourages me to go out there and try different things and try to bring more to the table.
Yeah.
Enrich myself. And my experience was nothing came out the first half of the year, which is wrong. And I'll get to one big game that we're going to talk about a lot later. Then the Switch 2 came out, and then it felt like everything got dumped all at once in the back half of the year, all at once. And there was like 12 different games. It's like, fuck, I'm drowning in games. It's like, it would have been nice to have sprinkled this out so I could keep up. It's part of the reason why this was late, is that there are a couple of games I wanted to make sure I got to, because I figured you guys were going to want to talk about them. And then a couple other things that I wanted to finish, you know. And then, of course, like stuff like Prime 4 didn't come out until December. So it was just a lot of stuff all at once. But I don't know, what did you guys think of this year in gaming of our
I feel
Lord?
Pretty much the same. Because, like, for me, I played an equal amount of old games last year to new games. Like, the ratio was basically 1-to-1.
Yeah.
So, and that was mostly first half of the year. I didn't, even including like Claire Obscure, which I didn't actually fully play until like December. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was definitely a backloaded year.
Yeah. But we didn't upload it in 2027 like Ryan said we would. So we've at least got that.
Hey, you know, I guess like for me, though, it gets a little complicated because like with 2024 and 2025, I was very busy, right?
Yeah.
I don't mean to plug. I'm a plug, but I don't mean to plug, but I'm a plug. I wrote a book. It came out on March 6th. It's pretty fucking sweet, and I'm very happy about it. So, like, all of 2024, my efforts went to, like, writing and finishing the book. And then all of 2025 was about finalizing the book, as in hiring a cover artist, getting an editor, doing multiple edits, and then getting the programs to actually make it into a book. For what it's worth, it cost me like a little over $2,600 to get this guy out the fucking door. So I didn't have a lot of money to spend or a lot of time to spend on games for like the past 2 years. I played some stuff, to be fair. I did play some stuff, but 2025 was the year of Ryan plays games, finishes none of them except for one, but we'll get to that one. So this will be an interesting year to talk about.
Yeah. Well, feel free to chime in and ask questions. I mean, and
it's okay, Ryan, because 75% of this podcast is just going to be the game that you actually finished anyway. So.
Well, we'll see
I don't know about that.
Because I've got, like 10 games on here? Like, and I'm not going to talk about all of them forever, obviously, but we've got
I think
some
Mike
stuff
is
to get through.
primed to talk about a specific game.
Well, that's one of them.
He was primed for this podcast.
It's okay. I just want Ryan to feel included.
Well, yes, of course. Well, on that note, who wants to go first? Who's got... let's start off with, like, things we didn't, like, catch-up games, older games.
Let me ask y'all a question, because you guys bought a Nintendo Switch 2. Michael actually bought one while we were all in Michigan, and he bought it on a fucking whim. So,
well, okay, we were in Dan's house, We were in his basement, and he was showing off Mario Kart World.
No, he was showing off
yeah.
how awesome Pokemon Scarlet was on the Switch too.
Yes,
and Exo was like, yo, I gotta get in on this.
Yeah, like he made it look really cool, and I'm like, fuck, I really want one of these now. So we walked down the street from the B&B we were staying in to this game store, and I'm looking over and I see this portly gentleman with a pair of glasses placing a Nintendo Switch 2 and a copy of Mario Kart World underneath the desk, and I'm like, hey, is that a Switch 2? And he's like, sure thing, buddy, old pal, but you gotta pay for the bundle if you want it. And I'm like, well, shit, I really shouldn't be spending this kind of money on vacation, but guess I'm getting a Switch 2. So I bought the Switch 2 and a copy of Mario Kart World.
My jaw hit the fucking floor. I'm like, what the fuck?
And I had to buy another controller, too. So I got like another pair of Joy-Cons, which, as it turns out, was useful for playing a certain game I was primed for. But then, like, the thing is, after that, we all went to lunch. We went to, like, diner next door to this game store. So I just had, like, the Switch 2 box in a bag on the floor next to my foot. And I'm like, fuck, I want to go home and set this thing up. But we had to eat first.
Yeah, you gotta eat your vegetables before you get to play your fucking video game.
Yeah. Well, how can I eat my pudding if I don't eat my meat? And all that. Yeah, so what were you saying about the Switch 2?
Nah, okay, because I do not have a Switch 2. So I was wondering if you too would like to share your thoughts on said console, since it was a pretty big release last year.
Yeah, that was... Why don't you go first, King? Because I think you've actually played more Switch 2 games than I have.
No, I definitely have. Because I actually didn't... I don't know. I was looking at it like, well, I like the Switch. Switch 2 looks cool. There's like upgrades on old games and stuff. And they announced Kirby Air Riders, so they had me at the jump, unfortunately. I guess it kind of snuck up on me how much I ended up enjoying it, because for like the first couple months it was like Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong, and I was like, oh, this thing's cool, I like this. I tested out some old games, but then like slowly but surely I kept using it more, because it's like the thing with the Switch for me was that it was just small enough that playing handheld was really aggravating for my hands, because I have giant hands. The Switch 2, it has less battery life than the normal Switch that I had, which was like the one that had upgraded battery life, but not like the OLED.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a bit of a downgrade in that regard, but I use my Switch 2 handheld a lot just because it's a little bigger and it fits in my hands a lot more comfortably. And quite frankly, it runs better. So I like my Steam Deck a lot, and it works for a lot of games that I have on Steam, but it is a finicky piece of shit sometimes. There are weird things that happen with it occasionally where like it'll, like it's a mini computer. So like it's going to have a lot more complex problems than, I guess a Switch 2 is also a mini computer, but it's like a more streamlined one. It's less prone to like when I try to use Steam Link or whatever, it won't like randomly reset. Games won't like hang for no reason. So in that regard, I've used it more than my Steam Deck, which I was not anticipating, just because the Steam Deck library is expansive as fuck, because it can be basically anything on your computer. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I just kind of started falling in love with it in a way I didn't expect to. I bought Resident Evil on it. This is a thing I would never have done with a normal Switch. I bought Cyberpunk on it. Now, to be fair, that was because it was like the discount era where it was like $13 and it wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah.
Very good discount era, by the way. One of the best deals I've ever gotten on a video game. But yeah, I don't know. I've been pretty satisfied with it, I would say.
Yeah. As for me, like, the reason I was sold on it so readily, for years, I've wanted a Switch Pro. Like, just upgrade the games, make them run at 1080p, like, not even 4K, 1080p, like, actual real 1080p, not like 900p, blurrily scaled to 1080p. That's all I wanted. And they just refused to give me one because Nintendo has always been like this. This is just like an off comment, but I read a book, listened to one rather, called Console Wars. It's sort of detailed the 16-bit war. It's kind of a mixed bag. You shouldn't read it for factual accuracy because it's told in this weird narrative style, but there was some interesting stuff in it. And apparently Nintendo's just always been like this, but they just do wherever the fuck they want. Yeah, like they wouldn't give me a Switch Pro, and then I saw Scarvio being played in 4K, I think it's like DLSS upscaled or whatever, but it looked great. I'm like, well, fuck, where's this been? Like, this is basically the Switch Pro I wanted. And that was before I realized that it was only a handful of games that got enhanced. I thought it was going to be way more. I was just like, I can't wait to play Dread on this thing in 4K. And turns out Dread is not one of the 12 games they remastered. And I found that out shortly after I bought it, and I felt a little remorse from that. But either way, like, Metroid was coming out on it, Donkey Kong was coming out on it. I would have gotten one of these things eventually. They just released a system firmware update like 2 days ago that like overclocks Switch 1 games to console mode and handheld mode. Like, they just dropped this, and that to me is like a game changer, because like Switch 1 games generally before this would look worse on Switch 2, because it would be like, it would run at whatever crappy handheld resolution it was originally, and then it would get blown up to 720p and then get stretched to 1080p to fit the screen. It was like several layers of blur. But now, if I could
I was about to say, I remember Dan was showing off Pokemon Legends Arceus, and like, it looked not very
Legends
good.
Arceus looked horrid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like, in that case, that was console mode, which is a little different, but it basically, there's no enhancements there, because it's just running how it would on a Switch 1. And apparently it's not native. Like, if you replay a GameCube game on the Wii that's native, it's just running different versions of the same architecture that is more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like emulated, whereas the Switch, apparently it is emulation. There's like a layer of emulation in there or something. So like, personally, I would prefer to play Switch 1 games on Switch 1. I don't know, I'm getting kind of off topic here. Like, I like the thing a lot, and now that I have the chance to actually play Switch 1 games in 1080p in handheld mode, at least, it's going to make me want to play it more. Personally, I'm a little bit disappointed at the rate of publication of like third-party games, because it's like, Silk Song is on there, and they just released Hollow Knight 1 on Switch 2, but they're like a lot of new, because like the Switch 2 for me would be perfect for like smaller indie games that I don't need like PC level, like fidelity or horsepower for. Like, there's this game that came out this year called Escape from Ever After. It used to be called Flint Buckler Wakes the Sleepy Castle or something. It's like a Paper Mario like that's been in development for years, and it's like, this would be perfect for Switch 2. But it's not on Switch 2. Mm-hmm. So it kind of leaves me in a scenario where like, okay, so I could play it in Switch 1, it'll look like crap, or I could play it on PC and not get the handheld experience. So it's kind of like, the Switch 2 is like the happy medium where I can play it in 4K on a TV if I want, but I still have the handheld capability. Yeah. So I would really like to see some more third-party releases, especially indie releases, because indie would be perfect for Switch 2. Yeah. The big major releases, the first party ones, I did enjoy, and we'll get to those, the ones that played at least, going forward. So I'm optimistic, but I want to see some more support for this thing, and hopefully that will be coming.
I guess I'm just like very, very reluctant, because like, I mean, Donkey Kong looks cool, Kirby's Air Riders looks pretty cool, but like, there still isn't anything on there from at least the first party that's like a must-have for me. And it's like, I'm patiently waiting for like a new Zelda or a new Smash Bros. Like, that'll probably do me in, right? But I guess my concern with the Switch 2 is that it seems like a lot of the hype announcements are just games that I can already play on PC, or games I can already play on my Steam Deck. Like, oh, hey, Cyberpunk's coming on Nintendo. Cool. You could play Final Fantasy VII Remake on Nintendo Switch and the Rebirth or whatever. Cool. I got that. I can get that on my PC if I really wanted to. So it's like the pitch, or like, the selling point seems to be like these games that are like 5, 6, some are even like 10 years old at this point. And it's like, that's all well and good, because like the Switch 1 was kind of like that. But that was also because of a response that the Wii U didn't have like any third-party support at all. So it was kind of nice having like, oh, you could have like the new Zelda, the new Mario, and you can have like the new fucking, like, you can have like Overwatch on there as well. We can have Dark Souls. You can have like all that on there, and you can't, it seems like they're trying to do that again, but like the first party support from what I've seen so far isn't quite where it needs to be yet. Like Donkey Kong looks cool, like not to be this guy, but like one of the things that would have really done me in would be like, oh, hey, here's a new Golden Sun, but they're like, nah, here's another Mario Tennis. So I'm like, well, now I'm a little worried where it's like, okay, so part of what made the Switch so cool was that like, it had the things you would expect. It had the Zelda, the Smash, but it also had like Kirby, like a 3D Kirby. It had a 2D Metroid, which was the first one that we had in years. And then it had things like Advance Wars, another Code. It had Detective Famicom Club. It had like a bunch of stuff like that, which was neat. And then it's not to say that like, oh, we need to have this stuff right out the gate, but like it was exciting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It was exciting when the Switch 1 first came out, and there's really nothing that's exciting regarding the Switch 2. I mean, like Pokemon might be good. And I heard this new Pokopia game is pretty good, but like the Fire Emblem game looks okay, but I'm worried that like, oh, here's Fire Emblem, another one. Here's Xenoblade, another one. Here's Zelda, another one. You know what I mean? It's like, let's get something new. Let's get something fresh. Let's get something exciting, as opposed to just, franchises that we already know that are going to be on the Switch too. Metroid back then was exciting because we haven't had a Metroid game. Pikmin, which, that one's kind of debatable, but like, Pikmin 4 was a big deal when it came out, So it's like, let's spice it up. Let's see what else we can do.
Let's see what's out there.
I'm still
fair
waiting.
Enough, because like technically this was a Wii U game, but like to me, for some reason, Splatoon feels like a Switch game because two of them came out right after.
Yeah.
And then they had ARMS. Whatever you feel about ARMS, it was a new thing that they did. And I can't really think of a thing on Switch 2 that like...
That's true. That's an excellent point.
Similar to that. I would like to see something of that caliber, like a Splatoon or even in ARMS or whatever. Just something like, I don't know, something new.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
That's just me. I'm waiting.
On that note, Ryan.
Yes.
I don't want to jump off this topic, but I mean, trust me, we'll come back to the Switch too, because there were a lot of games that came out. But speaking of Golden Sun, a set of games I did play last year.
Hey!
Finally.
Hey!
It took me a long time, but I played
it. King, I think Ryan might be highly opposed to you talking about Golden Sun. It's not like he's asked us to do it for years.
we don't got to talk about it. It's just a little thing. Just a little thing I did. We don't have to talk.
Wow. That's rude.
Regale us with this. Was Dark Dawn as bad as he has always made it out to be?
Wait, as who has always made it out to be?
You. The
Me?
Disappointing. We'll go with disappointing.
Brother, Dark Dawn was the first Golden Sun game I played. I had no frame of reference.
No, I'm saying like, you're always like, oh yeah, the first two, great duology, then the third one was a disappointment.
Well, the third one's okay, like comparatively.
Well, what did you think,
Dark
Dan,
Dawn,
of the third video game?
It's interesting. I guess Dark Dawn is the worst one, but I also like it. So I wouldn't say any of these are bad. I can see why Dark Dawn would be disappointing. I think the story's fucking terrible, but to be honest, I don't really like the story much in the other two games either, so it was kind of like whatever. I barely paid attention to begin with. So it was kind of like Dark Dawn was a noticeable step down even from those games, but I was in it for other things than whatever the hell was going on with the story. Because what I fell in love with Golden Sun was like, oh shit, it's like some of my favorite shit in RPGs, aka it's not really a job system. I guess it's kind of like, what would you compare Jin to? I guess it's like
maybe kind of materia in a way. Like you kind of have to like tilt your head and squint your eyes in order for it to make that comparison work. But in the sense where it's like you have like these different things that you switch up, you can give them to different party members. It gives you different abilities. Maybe.
Yeah. I just like that system a lot because of how it is spread across the game like a Zelda game, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It's basically, it feels like a drug in that way because I love Zelda and I like turn-based RPGs of the ilk of Golden Sun. I've been playing a lot of like Dragon Quest and stuff. It's kind of similar to those games. There's even direct mechanical holdovers. So what I really liked about the Lost Age, which is my favorite, it kind of just starts and then the guardrails are off and you have a huge fucking world and you just go and you find the Djinn. You go through these cool ass dungeons that are like Zelda dungeons. It was a very like, what's the word for this? It was a very like relaxing experience. There were hard points for sure, but that's not necessarily what I mean when I say relaxing. I think it was just like a comfortable, like
familiar.
Playing it. Yeah, it felt very familiar. I really, really like the music. It's probably one of my favorite GBA
My
soundtrack.
boy Matoy.
My boy Matoy, damn right.
Wasn't familiar with his game. I mean, I was. But...
Of course you were. You played Dark Souls.
Yeah. I think it's definitely one of my favorite GBA soundtracks. it made discovering new areas very memorable. I think one of my favorite areas is the Lost City. I don't even remember what it's called, to be honest.
Lemuria?
Yeah, just because I love the music and the vibe of that area a lot. It has been like a full year since I've done this, so apologies for the pauses, but I'm trying to like unearth some of these memories that I had a year ago.
I feel you on this one.
I wrote a whole video about it, so if people want more specifics,
video,
back when it was, well, thank you. Back when it was still fresh. But yeah, and then in regards to like the battle system, I really, really like the super bosses in it. I think they were very fun, especially in the Lost Age, because there were a bunch of them and they tested different mechanics. I had to change my Jin composition so much. And that's a thing even in games that have more complicated systems, like full-on job systems. A lot of those kinds of games, I don't quite feel like I get to the point where I need to switch jobs, because I think for a lot of those games, you get to the end and you've gone through so many of them that you've found the job you're going to settle on and just kind of beat the game with it, which is fine. But I like how the Lost Ages challenges are diverse enough to where I was constantly fiddling with the new Jins I was getting to see, well, maybe this job's going to do better on I can't remember the boss names. There's one boss that, the Dathon, or the one that was like, had like ads around him that did different stuff.
Ads?
The Star Magician.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had like the little balls.
I constantly felt like I was being asked to experiment, and I felt like I was on my toes, especially near the end. Final boss gave me a lot of shit. But it made it memorable too, because like, the whole party's there. Once you get the party from the original, I rarely see games do this anymore, really. Where it's like, the Lost Age it's really hard to experience as an individual game. But the benefit of that is that shit, like, you can bring over your Golden Sun playthrough into the Lost Age. And when it hits the point where you get the original party, it's like, holy shit. Well, now I can just do whatever the fuck I want.
That's when the overworld music changes and it's like, it's peak. Yeah.
So all that stuff just kind of coalesces into, definitely, I'm in love with the series now. Like, it just has to be said that I see the vision. And that extends to like liking Dark Dawn as much as I did, because as much as I feel like it was a step down in certain areas, I was having as much fun with it as I was having with the first two games, just playing it and collecting the Jin. I think a few too many of the Jin return. They could probably have gotten a few new ones, but I was having the same fun of the core loop of just going through dungeons that have satisfying puzzles to solve. And I think while I prefer the Lost Age and the original as like full packages in this, like in totality, I think some of the individual puzzles and dungeons in Dark Dawn are some of my favorites of the three.
Yeah, I agree with that. The thing is that I have with the Lost Age is that like it has the most complicated and the more like complex dungeon design, but like thematically they're not really that interesting. They kind of feel like different color palettes. But I feel like with Dark Dawn, and this might be because it's on newer hardware, it's on the, everything's in 3D. Like the set pieces are a lot more interesting. Like I'm thinking of like the one area that you go to in the very beginning that's like themed after the 12 signs of the Zodiac. Or there's like the one area at the very end of the game. I actually
remember that one.
What happened?
I said I actually remember that dungeon. I haven't played that game in like 15 years.
There's like the part at the end of the game where you're trying to activate this giant light cannon and you have like one of your party members having like a dark shield around you. And then there's like the one with the dream lizard that was pretty neat. Like there's just like a lot of like weird little moments that Dark Dawn has. And like mechanically, it's not as deep as the other two. Combat's a little shallow in that regard. The Jin balancing is kind of all over the place. But I think in the areas where it counts, like Dark Dawn is still like a pretty damn good game, Like it gets the things that it needs to get right. It gets them right.
Yeah, and it ultimately stuff like that is just where I land of like, I kind of grew to be like, well, Dark Dawn has some deficiencies, but so do the other two. Like,
yeah.
And that's a great place for a series to be for me, where I'm like, oh shit, I will play all three of these again one day.
Yeah.
Because it feels like a perfect drug cocktail of things that I like in video games. So I'm glad to have been enlightened, as it were.
Welcome to the club.
And I will play them again.
Do you kind of see what I've been saying for years, where like I would just love a version of Golden Sun and the Lost Age where they just put these two things together in one big game? Do you get that now?
I'd love to preserve my ego and disagree with you, but I can't. I would love another one, actually, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, it's not even necessarily
because I can see now, because it's not necessarily that they're bad games. It's more like I would love to see what anybody would do with Golden Sun now.
Yeah.
I was skeptical of this, but it is kind of a very unique RPG, even though I just said it's like a cocktail of all these different things. But I can't really say that I've played a game quite like Golden Sun.
Not even Sea of Stars?
Yeah.
Well, there
are definitely
is
some similarities. Yeah.
There are lots of games that kind of take individual elements that Golden Sun did, but it's not necessarily the whole package. Maybe not even inspiration, right? I remember when we were last talking about this, when we were talking about Sea of Stars, and like I was kind of like reflecting on games like the open world Zelda games, right? And how the Sheikah abilities, the different like things from Tears of the Kingdom that you use with your little magic arm thing, they kind of take some of the ideas from the Golden Sun games. Like, oh, hey, you can use this to freeze a pillar of water. You make that into a platform. Oh, hey, you can grab this. You can move it. You can manipulate it within the environment. And that's pretty cool. And the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survive, they also kind of do things like that too. Sea of Stars has like similar level design as the Lost Age, but it's not like the whole... Again, like little elements, little strands of Golden Sun here and there, but like not like the whole package,
I think Sea of Stars definitely comes the closest, but it doesn't have the Djinn, like not in the same way. The Djinn really is the thing for me that completes the picture, as it were, because I played a bunch of games that have nice level design, good puzzles, and like combat systems that make me think. But the way the Djinn are deployed as collectibles in the world to round out the picture is just like, because I think of like a lot of games with job systems, kind of you just unlock them over time through various methods. Like Metaphor has the social links and stuff, and FF5 you kind of just get them at certain checkpoints. I think there are hidden jobs, like I think a few of them you unlock. I can't quite remember, but the Djinn are all like, because they're very missable, which surprised me, even though they give you like, getting a bunch of them give you so many different types of jobs. I was surprised when I got to the end of the original and I was like, dude, I'm still missing like 8 of these fuckers. Like, like, what the fuck? And so that really made me dig in and scour the world for them. And there's nothing quite like that X factor, I guess, if I had to pin it down to one thing. But of course, with all games, it's not just one thing. But I think that's like the differentiating factor for me that I haven't quite found in a lot of other games, in addition to its other stellar elements. Like the soundtrack especially grew on me. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. Not to diss Motoi Sakuraba, because I have always been a fan of his music. It's just I think Golden Sun's a bit of a different, Dark Souls and Golden Sun don't exactly, the equal sign doesn't really connect there in terms of like genre.
Well, Dark Souls, Golden Sun, Mario Tennis, yeah. The man's got range.
He does have range. I can say
so
that
you're
now.
saying with the Mario Sports connection, we absolutely could bring him on for Golden Sun Ginny Basketball. It's a game that we've been teasing for 15 years. I mean, I'm just picturing like
Golden Sun. I'm glad I experienced
I'm just picturing like a country version of the Golden Sun title theme playing in the background while they're like bouncing the Ginny like basketballs.
You know what? I'm here for it. Why not? give me a bluegrass Golden Sun theme. I'm there for it. I don't give a fuck at this point. Let's go.
All right.
It only took us 10 years, but we finally got to Golden Sun.
Yeah.
I feel like we've definitely brought up Golden Sun plenty of times in the past.
Yup. I'm gonna have fun making the thumbnail for this one.
Yes. Well, there's one catch-up game I would like to get to briefly, because it's one that King talked about in detail last time. I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. So I played it. It's 1000 Times Resist by whoever the fuck made that game. It was pretty interesting and unique. And this is another case where like I played this months ago, so it's hard to pull certain things from the recesses of my brain holes. But what was interesting about, and I totally see why Dan had such a difficult time trying to describe what the hell this game even was, because it's not one thing. Like, visual novel is probably like the broadest, most applicable kind of thing. There's some elements of an adventure, some puzzles, and like you can physically control yourself and move around, unlike a lot of visual novels. But part of the reason it's so hard to describe, and part of what made it so interesting, there are maybe like 9 chapters in the game, and each one radically shifts things into a new direction. There's the first one where you move back and forward between 2 time periods, and then there's another one where you're trying to discover how it is the aliens communicate, and you're sort of picking up on that. There's another one that's in first person where you kind of jump around the timeline a lot. The game plays with chronology in an interesting way, where like you learn information kind of an out of order fashion, and then you sort of have to try to piece it together. There's a lot of different interconnecting themes in there, like generational trauma and cultural identity, being an immigrant, because like the family was from Hong Kong and they immigrated to Canada. So they had to deal with like, you know, like now we're in this completely different cultural context. And then there's like Iris, like I think grew up in Canada, whereas her friend immigrated later in life. So there's like a culture shock going on there, and like filial relationships, and like how Iris's relationship with her own mother reflects her relationship with her clone society that she's created, and particularly the first couple of clones, and how that sort of passes along to her daughter, quote unquote. And it's also a really interesting sci-fi game. It's like you've got the time travel stuff, you've got aliens, you've got psychic communication, and the aliens are genuinely like really bizarre and weird.
They are, yeah.
Where it's like, what the hell are they talking about? And there's one chapter, like I said, that focuses on how the aliens communicate, which seems to be, if I recall correctly, through memories and like imagery. And it reminded me of one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, Darmok. And Darmok is an episode where like the Enterprise encounters a race of aliens called the Tamarians, who communicate through metaphor, through imagery. Like Troy says Juliet on her balcony as a metaphor for loneliness, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked it up after the fact, because I was just like, was this inspired by Darmok? It feels like they were not ripping it off, but it felt like a clear influence. And turns out I was right, it was. The guy who wrote the game was like, oh yeah, I totally remembered Darmok from TNG, and that inspired the aliens and 1000 Times Resist.
That's wild.
So it was just, yeah.
It's just such it's a hard game to put in a box. Like,
yes,
you can try.
Absolutely.
It just left a big, like, I was thinking about it for several days the night that I beat it. It's when I like get to a point in the game where I'm like, oh, I can finish this, and then I'm up till like 4 a.m. That's how you know it's a good game.
Yeah. For me too, I was like, there was a part, the chapter where they're on the train, and then they finally get to like the controlled bridge or whatever. When that happened, it was just like, it was like 4 a.m. and it's like, well, fuck, I want to keep playing, but I've got to go to bed. You know, and it's just, time just flew. Like the way that the game keeps resetting itself. You know that what they're doing is effective when it's a game that's functionally a walking simulator and you can't put it down.
Yeah. Well, just the staging of it all is really excellent in the way that, like, yeah, it kind of holds your attention the whole way through. And since every chapter is like different from the last, and you don't really even, a lot of the time, you don't know where you are or when you are. You have to piece it together like along the way. There were points during the game where I was very unsettled, and I think that was probably a feeling they wanted to impart. I think they did a good job of that, especially as somebody who's definitely not familiar with a lot of the subject matter. So
yeah, and the way that they sort of play with the fact that there's a critical moment that happens halfway through the game that really isn't a spoiler, because it's the first thing you see technically, where like in that moment you're like completely on the watcher's side, where like you feel what she feels, and like you're like, yeah, you go girl. But then, like, you find out more in the back half of the game that sort of recontextualizes what's going on, and you sort of realize that you were seeing a lot of stuff in the first half of the game through the filter of another character's perspective almost. And it made, like, trying to piece everything together all that much more interesting. And there's even, like, a brief sort of montage towards the very end of the game where you see, like, some non-canon interactions of, like, sort of like that hit Marvel show on Disney Plus, What If? Like you see these non-canon like interactions of characters that obviously couldn't have happened, but it's just kind of interesting to see like characters at very different points in the timeline sort of interacting and what they would have said to each other in that moment. And yeah, like just fascinating game, absolutely worth playing, a fine choice for game of 2024. I don't even remember what the fuck I picked last year, but 1000 Times Resist would definitely I would have to reconsider what I picked. I don't
Wasn't
remember.
Metaphor your guys' game of the year?
That's it. Yeah, that's a hard one to pick because I really did love Metaphor.
Mm-hmm. I think I stick with more hindsight. Probably stick with 1,000 Times Resist. I think I
you did
as
pick
much.
it.
Yeah.
And just part of the reason why I wanted to play it is because like, oh, what's this weird game that King brought and picked for his GOTY?
It's just of the games I played that year, I had a lot of fun with games in 2024 of the ones that I played, but the one that left the biggest impact was definitely 1,000 Times Resist. So
yeah, I totally see why. Y'all should go check out this game. It's on Switch, so like it'd probably be. I'm pretty sure it's on Switch. One thing I did hate about though is there's absolutely no anti-aliasing in the whole game, and it drove me nuts. So I had to like hack it to put FXAA in it. And I don't even like how FXAA works, but I'll take it over nothing. And it's not like Unity doesn't have built-in anti-aliasing solutions, so I don't know what the hell happened there. My guess is they optimized it for Switch, and then when they did the PC version, they didn't change anything. But I don't know, it doesn't really matter, because the game itself is really fascinating and great, and you should all play it.
Yeah.
So, Buttface, do you have any games that you want to bring up yet, or should we...
Are we talking about, like, catch-up games?
Yeah, like anything you want to bring up, disappointments.
Well, let me tell you, I tried out a Golden Sun randomizer. We don't got to talk about that. Shall we move on to what we are primed for talking about today? Since
I'm not quite ready to get to that one yet.
No, because I mean, like, if we're going to be talking about like games that were disappointing, I mean, we could. We don't have to, but we could. I'm just saying.
Here's the thing. It's not my most disappointing game of last year. I've got one I was more disappointed in that I would like to get to first.
It's definitely my most disappointing game of the year.
I hear you. I'm not going to disagree with you. Well, I'm not going to disagree with your choice, rather. Should I just get to the one I'm teasing first, or do you guys have anything else?
Wait. Actually, no, now I'm scared.
Well, it's probably not a game either of you have heard of.
Okay, good. Okay, now go ahead.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about. I know what you were thinking. I
saw my life flash before me. I'm like, he's not going to talk about it, is he? We're not doing this now.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm going to keep you guys in suspense on that one. But no, this is a game.
God.
You guys might remember a few years ago. I don't remember what year this was, 2022. My game of the year was Kaze and the Wild Masks, a Donkey Kong styled 2D platformer where like you play as a magic rabbit spinning into vegetables, sentient vegetables. That's not a joke, by the way. And I loved it. Fantastic game. Like, because like I'm not a huge fan of the Retro Studios Donkey Kong games. Like, where the hell are all the animal buddies, Retro Studios? You made a second game and didn't fix any of the problems with the last one. Namely, lack of animal buddies and lack of real bonus rooms. You just
But it
made
had
another
the Rambi in it, didn't it? It had the one that everyone knows.
They had one.
Yeah.
And they brought back Squawks, but they brought back the shitty Squawks from the first DKC, where he's just basically a glorified flashlight that shows you where the puzzle pieces are, but whatever. So, like, part of the reason I liked Kaze so much was it felt more traditional. It felt more in line with the SNES trilogy. Had some solid level design, great music, nice visuals. I bring it up because my most disappointing game of the year is basically another one of those. It's a game called Windswept, which I had been looking forward. This was my most anticipated game of the year, believe it or not, was Windswept. Because, like, I played a demo of it a couple years ago, and I was just like, wow, this seems to have a lot of what Kaze had going for it, and even a little more. Like, it's got more animal buddies and stuff, and the visuals are great, and the soundtrack is nice. And I'm like, I'm really looking forward to playing the whole game when it comes out. And it was being teased for a while, like, oh, it's coming out in summer of 2025. And I'm like, oh boy, I can't wait. Then it got delayed, and then it came out in, like, fall or whatever. And, like, finally, this game came out. I can't wait to play it. And for the first couple of worlds, I was really enjoying myself. It was exactly what I was hoping for. It's got proper bonus rooms. It's got a take on all of the Donkey Kong animal buddies, pretty much. Except instead of a spider, they have a crab. Instead of a parrot, they have a bat that throws mixtapes. And then there's a chameleon in there that sucks. And for some reason, they thought that the level from DKC 3, that's like a stampede where the elephant runs against its will, was a good idea to bring back. So that's in there too. God,
I'm literally watching a trailer of this while you're talking about it, and it's like, how can you hate this game? You play as a duck.
I know, right? Yeah, you play as a duck and a turtle who team up to try to get home after a storm knocks them out of their nest. And it's like, great, cute premise, excellent looking pixel art graphics, really good soundtrack. Like the vibes and atmosphere are good. And
I definitely see the DKC influence, though. It's like, it is not even subtle.
Yeah, like they copied a lot of stuff. And what's also kind of neat is like DKC 3 tried to do this thing where the two characters are different. So when you do the team up, they have different results. Like if you throw Kitty, he can break through the floor. And then whereas if Kitty throws Dixie, it's more like the last game. And they do something similar with this too, where like if the turtle throws the duck, you get like a boost in midair. And if you throw the turtle, you can throw him into enemies and kill them. And he can like float along the water and you could bounce off of him in midair. There's all this stuff you can do. But I guess I'll just sort of cut to the chase and say like it starts out really solid in what I wanted. But then after a certain point, it got really frustrating and annoying. And I started to chafe against it. This is something that's really hard to summarize and like while I'm speaking off the cuff like this. But there are a lot of little tiny annoyances that build up. Like, I do have to give it credit for this. I always complain about games not saving your collectibles if you exit without beating the level. They didn't do that. It's like the old games where, like, once you collect one of the collectibles, and they do this really interesting thing, because one thing I hated about Sonic Lost World, those red rings, is if you die after getting a red ring but don't get to a checkpoint, it doesn't save. Yeah. And this game found a really neat compromise. When you grab a collectible, there's like a short period of time where if you die, you lose it. But after that period of time passes, you get to keep it forever, which I thought was a really good compromise on that. So like you can't just throw yourself into a pit. You have to survive for a little bit, but it's not like you have to get to the checkpoint to keep it. So like there are little things like that I liked, but like there were so many little annoyances. There's this the bonus levels were fucking awful. Like the first couple were okay, but then after a certain point, it starts turning into borderline Kaizo shit where like you have to do like a bunch of really precise mid-air maneuvers chained one after another, and you die in one hit no matter how many characters you have, and the levels go on forever. After a certain point, it also feels like half the checkpoints are missing or something, because you'll be redoing the same chunks of the level over and over again until you can get to the part you actually died on, and then you die, and then you have to do the easy parts over and over again. It just feels like they didn't play test with, I guess, more mid-skilled gamers like me, like some more in the middle of the spectrum. And the reason why the first chunk of the game was better is because it was hard, but it was more like on the level of what DKC is towards the middle, maybe. And then by the time you get to the end of the game, it sort of starts to devolve into borderline Kaizo stuff. And what I found out looking at the reviews is this game was apparently influenced by some game I've never played called Celeste, in addition to DKC.
Celeste,
and
yeah.
And apparently Celeste is a game where you can chain a bunch of moves together in midair to do some weird, nasty shit in midair.
Yeah.
And once you start getting towards the back half of the game, that tech stops becoming like a cool speedrun strat and starts becoming borderline required. And there's one in particular, I kept reading reviews and people are like, the turtle is way better than the duck. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? The turtle sucks. And that's when I found out that the turtle can do a double jump thing by ground pounding, spinning in midair, and then jumping out of the spin. And it's like they sort of try to teach you this in the first level, but they make it seem like you have to ground pound into something before you can spin in midair. So I didn't know you could do that until like 5 worlds in, that the turtle can just double jump. Whereas the duck can just glide, and that's really self-explanatory and actually makes sense from a laws of physics perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, the bosses were also terrible. The first one was okay. The second one wasn't even really a boss. It was like an enemy gauntlet that ends with a very brief boss thingy. Then the third one is like this really long boss that is interrupted by required bonus rooms that are really easy to lose. And if you die, you have to do everything all over again. And I hated it. And then you get to the fourth world, and there was like this level where you go down to the bottom of a volcano, and then it erupts, and you have to ride a wave of lava back up. And it's one of those games where, like, when you start playing it, you're kind of patient with it. You can forgive little bits of weird design here and there, but the longer you play it, the angrier you get, your patience erodes, and then you just start swearing at the TV. That was my experience.
Yeah.
And for me, that was disappointing because I started like a new IT degree program this year, and I haven't had as much time while classes are going on to play games. And this seemed like a perfect game to sit down and relax with. And in my experience, it was just too frustrating for that. And it kind of rubbed me the wrong way after a while. It's not the worst game I've ever played. It's not even really a bad game, but it is a game where like there's a specific subset of gamers who really like that Kaizo kind of super precision platforming kind of shit. It's like they prioritize that for the later levels over like the median gamer. And the result is something that
what the checkpoint stuff is like, because it seems like they were influenced by Celeste. Because Celeste gets fucking ludicrous, especially near the end of that game. But Celeste also, every single room is a checkpoint, which makes it
it's not
frustrating.
Like that. No,
that's what makes Celeste work. Because if Celeste had traditional checkpoints, it would have been an awful thing to learn.
Yeah, it is not like that. We're like, if they had like even twice as many checkpoints, it would be a lot better than it is. And I should note for those listening, because I'm sure it's going to come up, that the game does have built-in cheats that you can turn on. And as far as I know, they don't take away trophies or anything, so you can use them guilt-free, quote unquote. So like there's a cheat that's an invincibility one that lets you jump in midair perpetually, one that lets you create your own checkpoints. And it's like, after a certain point, I felt like I had, like, especially those bonus levels, I felt like I had to use them just to get through the levels because they were so bad. But the thing about those is sometimes a cheat that you really want to use just doesn't work. Like that one boss I was talking about that had all the bonus rooms. Like, okay, I'll just put a checkpoint right before the part I'm stuck on, the actual bonus room part I'm stuck on, so I could just do that. And it just doesn't work during bosses. And then there are times where, like, I'm stuck on this level with the stupid dog that keeps running and you can't make him stop. And like, I want to be able to jump in midair so I could just get through this shit. And, oh, the midair jump cheat doesn't work on the animal buddies for some reason. And it's, I don't know. The game frustrated me after a while and it just wasn't fun. So I was pretty disappointed in it, unfortunately. Now, if you are the kind of person who likes Kaizo stuff, maybe check it out. Because, you know, like, I don't pretend to be some kind of god gamer who's amazing and perfect at everything. Maybe I'm just mad because bad. I don't know. And it's also one of those things where, like, if I played the DKC games for the first time right now, I have no idea what I'd think of them. I am so familiar with them at this point that it's like breathing. So maybe I would feel the same way about some of the levels in those games, but just based on my knowledge of them, like the Elephant Stampede level in DKC 3 is not nearly as bad as this lava running dog level in this game is. So, I don't know. I feel like they went a little overboard with difficulty in some of the later levels. Oh, and I should also mention, there's one level that's really pissed me off, where it's like a ruins level where you go backwards, and then like you reach the end of the level and it teleports you back to the beginning, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? What am I supposed to do? Turns out you're just supposed to go right, and the level immediately ends at the start. And it's just like, what? So
Nice.
That really annoyed me. It's like little things like that that just
like
add
Death
up.
by 1,000 cuts, really.
Yes, exactly. Like just lots of tiny little annoyances that add up and make me just want to shut it off after an hour of playing it. So I really want to love it. Maybe I'll love it more on a second playthrough. Odds are there's nothing that's going to make me love those bosses, but maybe like some of the levels I might like more, but I don't know. I was disappointed in it. So I think Ryan is still... Oh, he's back.
Hello.
Okay.
I had to pee, and I was also hot as balls. So I had to turn on the AC.
I thought you were saying you were hot as balls.
Well, I mean, I am. I'm just got sweat stuck to my back right now because we're in Florida, baby.
Yeah.
Love it.
I do have another vaguely Metroid-related thing I could sprinkle in real quick.
Ooh.
And this is like something else that did come out last year. It's a ROM hack of Super Metroid. Touted as the first total conversion ROM hack for Super Metroid. There's been stuff like Ancient Chozo where there's like new level design and they changed the graphics, but in this game is called Super Metroid X Fusion, or maybe Cross Fusion. I don't know.
I think I've seen this before.
It's basically a ROM hack of Super Metroid that turns it into a reimagining of Metroid Fusion. Like, it changes all the graphics, it recreates all the music on SNES. It has a bunch of crazy new bosses. Like, there's a Dragon X boss fight, there's a Crocomire X boss fight, and there's a bunch of really cool ideas that you never see in the original. Like, there's a part where you ride the box security robot while fighting Crocomire X. It's like the original tug-of-war type boss battle, except this time you're on a narrow platform, you know? Some of the level design is the same, but other parts are changed quite a bit. And it keeps finding ways to surprise you, even though it's so similar to Fusion. And there's some clever bits of level design in it that are actually really interesting and new. There's a mechanic in Sector 4 Aqua where you can change the water level, and because you don't have the gravity suit or the space jump or whatever, you have to sort of use the water level to make platforms be level so you can do like speed booster stuff and whatever. Yeah, so like it's just crazy what they were able to do with Super Metroid. Like, it feels like a completely different game despite being a ROM hack.
This is a Super Metroid ROM hack. You did say that. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super Metroid X Fusion.
Yeah, I'm looking at gameplay. This literally just looks like Fusion. And
Yeah.
I mean that in a good way. Like, it looks great.
It does have some flaws, though. And apparently this is something that has been improved since launch. I didn't play like the version 1.0 of this. I played like 1.3 or something, whatever the newest was at the time in like September of last year. But partway through the game, the balance starts to get really fucked. There's a part where you go through Sector 6 Knock, the dark area, and there's like the blue freezy X-Parasites. And it's like you touch one of them and you just die instantly. And there's like 12 of them in one room. It's like shit like that where like it feels like they didn't play test it very well. And I looked at a bunch of reviews and comments on Metroid Construction from around the time the game launched, and there was a lot of complaints about the difficulty that they apparently improved upon, but did not entirely fix by the version I played. The end of the game takes place in like a super secret sector that you unlock by fighting the 4 Space Pirate Commander bosses from the original Super Metroid. So it's like the game's version of Turian, essentially. And there's like some crazy shit in there where like you're being chased by 12 SAX and Metroids at the same time. But it's like this terrible stealth section where like you get attacked by the Hyper Metroid and it steals all of your stuff. So like even if you get 100%, you're like back to basic bitch Samus with 99 energy units and no energy tanks and barely any missiles and stuff. And you're like, shit, I'm defenseless. And you've got to like dodge. You got to dodge Metroids, which will basically kill you instantly if they touch you, and SAX, which can like shoot through walls and kill you. And like that part of the game was like borderline unplayable. And I had to turn on cheats to get past it. Because it's just like you have to make these very specific movements that you wouldn't know to do except by trial and error. It was like borderline Kaizo shit. So like the end of the game falls apart because it just feels like it wasn't play tested very well.
Well,
very
hey, that's
extensively.
a subtle homage to the original Metroid on NES, which also falls apart at the end.
I never thought Turian in the original Metroid was that bad.
No,
I
it's
fucking
a feature.
hated Turian because when you die, you just have to like, dear God.
That is true. You have to farm all your shit back.
That was the part of it that was bad, is because when I was first playing it, I died in there, and it's so punishing. Like, I've rarely seen a game punish you that much for death. It's actually absurd.
Well, now imagine that you can only get hit once and you can't farm that energy back, and you don't have the ice beam or missiles, and you just have to fucking go. And
Sounds great.
there's like no wiggle room at all. Like you make one tiny mistake and you're just dead. And that's because that's like the thing with ROM hacks, is that oftentimes it's made by people who have a lot of great ideas for weird level design that would never be in a professionally released game. And I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean like they come up with these ideas that are kind of unconventional. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. But the scuttlebutt of it is they're not necessarily going to be play tested well or geared towards a gamer of median skill level. Usually they're just going to kind of assume that, wait, everybody knows about the spaghetti in my ass jump from Super Metroid. What, you don't know about the spaghetti in my ass jump? Like, what, are you stupid? You should be able to do the mock ball, idiot. And it's not that bad in Super Metroid X Fusion, but like it does feel like it was made for people who played Dread mode, you know?
If you are dedicated enough to make a ROM hack, you probably love the original. To the point where you would know all the speedrun tricks of Super Metroid. All the fucking crazy shit that people do.
Even though I have my criticisms of it, it's worth playing. After playing Prime 4, it actually played it slightly before Prime 4, but it might wash some of that bad taste out of your mouth to go back to Fusion and see like, hey, these are some kind of interesting ideas that would have been cool to see in the original Fusion. And, you know, the new boss fights are cool. It's worth checking out. It's cool. And the person who made it is really talented and should be proud of what they accomplished. So,
yeah.
Yeah.